TAQ Capital, technical analysis quickly.
This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Before taking any action based on the information provided on this channel, it is recommended that you seek the advice of a professional licensed financial advisor.
Let's do this.
All right, welcome back to TAQ Capital, your home for technical analysis quickly without the hype, FUD, and hopium. So let's dive right in and take a look at what I got set up here. I know it's overwhelming if you're new to the channel, so bear with me. It'll all make sense in the end. This was our first run on Ethereum, okay? So this was the peak. And then it bounced up again, got 2% higher, bounced up again, got another 2% higher, it was actually 2.2%. And then that was the end of the first run. Then this was our second run. The second run here was 8.10% higher than the peak of the first run. And according to the Fibonacci retracement tool, it hit right on the money because it said we should have been going to 1739 and we went to 1746. Now I bring your attention to this second bounce and third bounce because it's possible that we're going to do the same again. And because this bounce here is 4.2% higher than our peak, this green line here is 4.2% higher than our peak of the second run. So we could do something like this and cross over that green line and then come crashing back down. We may only do it in one bounce and not two bounces. It could just be something like this where we come up, hit it, and then come crashing down. But if this ends up being a third run entirely, then, and because I mean the overall sentiment in the market right now is pretty bullish, we take our Fibonacci retracement from here to here, and that's what this is over here. So this was the bottom, this was the top. So it tells us we're going to be going to 1906. And, you know, that's right up in here. So we could cross over the green, come up, hit it, and then come down. I'm not sure. And we'll have to see what's going on, not only with Ethereum as this unfolds, but also with Bitcoin. I mean, right now on Ethereum, this is the 6-hour chart. You know, from peak, we've just been in limbo. We're waiting to break, well, I say down, but out to the right here of this yellow wedge, and that will complete the yellow wedge. But we're still very much in this pink wedge here, and this may not be our peak. So it could come up here, and then we'd have to redraw the pink line from there to there before we start heading back down to break out of the pink line here, which I think is going to begin our big dump. If I drop down to the 1 hour, it's easier to see this teal wedge. So we hit here, there, 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 and now we've been going up in the yellow wedge instead of just retracing down to the bottom of the teal to break out. So this is also a very bullish sentiment that from the peak of the teal wedge from a hit standpoint, we've just basically continued to go up. And now we're in sideways consolidation range here within this larger blue wedge. So let's zoom out and look at the blue wedge. The blue wedge is currently forming. Started up here, and we've got 2. We're currently at 3, but you know, 3 could end up being over here. We don't know yet. And then we'll be heading down to 4, which I think is going to be getting down to around the $400 to $600 mark for Ethereum. We're also currently in this orange wedge, which was 1, 2, 3, and is at now a 4. Originally, the orange wedge was here, which indicated that once we hit price range was at 1600-ish, we shot back down for the pink wedge to begin our second run, and this was the swoop down and out within this orange wedge. So you can see that it didn't come anywhere near the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4 swooping out, and this is a very common practice. In fact, Bitcoin did the exact same thing when it just had its run. It was a 1, 2, 3, 4 out of a very similar pattern. The difference, though, between where Bitcoin is now, which I'll show you in a second, and where Ethereum is that Ethereum currently has a sideways broadening wedge, meaning now, based off this last hit, the orange is pointing up and this lower orange is pointing down. So we don't know, excuse me, if it's going to break up or if it's going to break down. This is the same wedge on Bitcoin, which is the blue. So the blue was down here, like this, and then we had our 1, 2, 3, 4 swoop and break up and out. And now that we're moving this up, it's still pointing down. So this blue line is still down. This blue line is still down. So this tells us we still have to break up. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I think we're going to have a swoop down to end the white wedge, break up and out of the blue wedge to another higher spot. And based on the Fibonacci retracement tool, it looks like it could be this 22,832 range. And where I got that from is because if this was our first run here, then we retraced, then we did our second run, we've got to measure from the bottom of the second run to the top of the second run to see where the third one's going to go to. So it's telling us we're going to retrace somewhere in here. So we'll retrace, break out of the white wedge, and then we'll go up to somewhere up here out of these two, but it could be as high as 22,832. It might even overshoot it because technically we did overshoot our targets here from the first run, like considerably. If you take this as the first run, the target was 19,960. But where I got my 21.2 from that I called ages ago was back here, because this run says we should go up to 21,280. And then we retraced. We actually retraced like way below the entry of this last run, which was, I mean, shocking when you talk about Fibonacci retracement tool, but there are also Fibonacci lines down here. I just have mine shut off. And if you go into the settings and you hit reverse, they'll appear below. So if I do that really quickly here, click it, go to the bottom and hit reverse, instead of seeing where it's going, you can see where it can retrace to. And it actually retraced to just below the bottom of the 1.618. Came down here, hit that, and then went up, and it gave us, instead of 21,280, it gave us 21,695. So it overshot it. Suppose alternatively, if this is your first run here, and then this is your retracement, and this is your second run, you could also measure from the bottom of the second run to the top of the second run to see what we get from a third run, which would be wherever we retrace to up like this. So let's see what that says. Instead of this 22,832, which would be measuring from here to here, it's actually going to be 23,654, measuring from here to the peak of the second run. So if we do a big enough retracement here and it becomes a third run, then we're looking at 23,654. And if we do 23,654, it would also make sense from, well, one, this Fibonacci circle, that's going to be resistance. Two, it could wick up to here and overshoot the 23,654, which is more resistance there. And three, we hit an established line of support and resistance here. You can see on the left of the screen all of this here. So these had resistance, 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 broke through, found support, fell through it again, resistance, 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 all this, then found support here, launched up, came crashing through, resistance, resistance, launched through it, came down, support, 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 and then broke through it. So now this is the first time that we're going to be near this line if we come up here. So if we shoot through it and wick up to, somewhere, well, if we do this scenario, somewhere up here, and we go through it here, we're going to hit that fib circle and potentially get our big rejection down the fib circle. It also could be something where we break through the fib circle and then ride the fib circle all the way down to this lower white line of a wedge that we're forming. So there's a number of ways that it can play out, but at the end of the day, this blue line means that we're going to be breaking above it at some point. So I guess in a last alternative, could this blue line be moved to remove this hit? Let's take a look. It would have to be something like this, where you have a hit, and then this is the weirdest breakdown to a third hit before we go up to a fourth hit. It'd be something like that. And the fourth hit doesn't have to be this high. I mean, we could even keep this at a downward angle right there. So we would have our first, second, barely a miss, third, break up, bounce, and out, where you get rejected there and then come back down. That's an option. It's not impossible. I think it's unlikely because of the amount of ground it's got to cover from here down to here. So I don't think that's the case, but it is possible. I think we're going to go with probably more our second option here, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, bounce out, find, get rejected up here, and then break down and come down to this lower white line here. But my point by all this is that Bitcoin might not be done. So this could actually end up being, a third wave up. So depending on where this resets to, uh, our target should be still around 22,832. And if Bitcoin goes up, there's a good chance that Ethereum will do the same thing. So where are we going to retrace to right now? Well, these big giant green signs here says that the 4 to 11 hour Kijun is right here, and the 12 to 20 hour Kijun is right here. So it should be one of these 2 points. So if I turn on the Ichimoku cloud, you can see that the Kijun is right here on the 4 hour that we're currently on. And if we jump up 5 hour, 6 hour, 7 hour, I mean, it's exactly what it says. 4 to 11 hour Kijun is right here. And the 12 to the 20 hours here. So if I jump up to the 12, there it is, 16, there it is, 20, there it is. So I think as the day unfolds here, which is going to be slow moving, you're going to start to have these things kick up. And then it's going to start pulling the candles down. That'll end our yellow wedge, which is going to end very soon. Then it'll end our teal wedge on Ethereum. And it'll be a big enough reset without resetting the lower line of the pink, the wedge here. So I don't think that's going to have to move before we possibly have some more upside because of what Bitcoin's doing. And then we'll have our flop over. At that point, this blue wedge line will have to come through this point, and then we'll be heading down to the lower blue wedge line that's over here. So zoomed out without the Kijun signs, that would put our blue at here, here, somewhere up here, and then we're going to shoot way down here as Bitcoin makes its run down to the 8 to 10,000. That's my opinion. Could the bottom be in already on Bitcoin? Absolutely. In which case, there's still going to have to be some downside because we have to break down out of this wedge here. And I think, once we get our third hit here, we still have to come down and hit the blue. But, maybe that's more like 1200 or something to that effect. And it's not going to be nearly as bad as I'm anticipating. For instance, this might be the hit instead of this is the hit, in which case we would just move the blue line from here to there. We could swoop this one up like this, and then it could be 1, 2, 3, 4 at like, what is that, 1300 maybe, just over, and then break up and out that way. Oh, actually, no, it would have to be below here because it's got to break out of the teal. So it could be more around the 1200 and then bounce up. So that would put our blue line more like that. And that's still very possible. So we get the teal break, we get the blue break, and we go from there. But my whole point with all this is if you're in Ethereum, watch Bitcoin. Obviously, if you're in Bitcoin, watch Bitcoin. But in these altcoins, you've absolutely got to watch what Bitcoin is doing, because if it does this little swoop up like this, it's going to take the market with it, at least momentarily. And even though it will still keep all the wedges on the altcoins held true, it could be a surprise that if you're using high leverage could get you liquidated. But that's all I've got for today. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. My other socials are down in the description below if you want more timely updates. And I hope you guys have a great day out there, and I'll catch you in the next video.